The picture frame on my nightstand still stands straight. A younger me, in a white dress, smiling beside a rosemary bush I planted with my bare hands. Most days, the nurses don't even glance at it, but I do. Because that woman, the one in the photo, she wasn't ready to be put away. They said it was temporary, that it was for my safety. But love that locks you in doesn't feel much like love at all. There's a letter I've been writing, not to my son, not even to the woman who stood beside him with cold eyes and soft lies. It's to the woman I used to be, the one who packed a lavender scarf in a hurry, not knowing it would become her anchor. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't fight, but I had a plan, and if you stay a little longer, I'll tell you how I stitched my way out, one quiet choice at a time. The fall came quick. Not the season, the stumble. I was trimming the rosemary bush out back, the same one Ernest and I planted our second spring in that house. I bent down to snip the dry twigs, and my foot caught on a little root poking through the stone path. I didn't break anything, just a scrape on my elbow and a bruise I'd feel later. But when Eric saw the photo Mira snapped, me sitting on the porch steps with a cold pack and a tired smile, he acted like I'd lost half my mind and all my balance. They drove up 2 days later. First time in 3 months. Eric hugged me, a bit too tight. Mira looked around the house like it was a property listing. Her eyes went from the ceiling to the baseboards, not once landing on me. I offered tea. She declined. She always did. "Mom," Eric began, pulling out a folder. "We've been thinking, maybe it's time to look at some safer options." I blinked. "Like a stair lift?" I asked, trying to lighten the air. He didn't smile. "No, a care home, just until we're sure you're stable again." Mira chimed in. "We toured one just 15 minutes away. Beautiful place, gardens, therapy pool, chef on site." I laughed, because it sounded like a brochure, because I didn't know they were serious. But they were. They had appointments, insurance papers, a moving checklist. I hadn't even seen a doctor. "Eric," I said gently. I slipped. That happens in gardens. I've slipped before. He didn't look at me, just said, "Things are different now. You're not 35 anymore, Mom." No, I wasn't. But I wasn't broken either. Still, within a week, I was packing a bag. Not my real things, just what could fit in a floral suitcase I hadn't used since Ernest's funeral. My knitting needles, 2 framed photos, lavender soap, and the scarf. I stood in my living room, and I felt like a guest saying goodbye. Mira was already on the phone in the kitchen, talking to a realtor. I heard her whisper, "Yes, the deed's still in her name, but we'll get that sorted. It's just paperwork." My son didn't correct her. They drove me to Crestwood Hills Care, a place that smelled like bleach and overripe bananas. The woman at the front desk handed me a clipboard and called me Viola M. Not Mom, not Mrs. Ellison, just a file. Room 12. Eric kissed my cheek. "I'll visit soon," he said, but it felt like a lie sewn into a promise. Later that night, I sat on the edge of the twin bed, looking out the barred window. A single picture frame sat on the table, me in the garden, arms full of lavender. Mira had left it there, not because she meant to comfort me, but because she hadn't wanted it. That was the day I realized, love can put you in a home, but love doesn't lock the door from the outside. And even if it does, I still had the key. Crestwood Hills had a garden. That's what the brochure said. But it wasn't a garden. It was a rectangle of cement with 3 potted ferns and a bench too hot to sit on after noon. The flowers were fake. Even the butterflies avoided it. I'd walk out there sometimes, pretending it smelled like my rosemary, like my lavender, but it never did. The first week, I tried to be a good patient. I smiled, ate the pudding, folded my cardigans neatly in the drawer. But no one called me Mama. No one asked how I liked my tea. They called me Sweetie. Hun. Words that pretend to care, but don't wait for answers. On the 4th day, I saw a woman, maybe late 60s, sit by the window in a pink robe, holding an imaginary phone. She whispered, "Tell them I'm still here." That night, I wept into my pillow, quietly. Not because I felt old, but because I felt erased. There's a difference, you know. Aging is natural. Disappearing is not. I kept thinking about my house. My kitchen with the crooked drawer that Ernest never fixed. The stain on the carpet where Eric spilled orange soda when he was 9. My garden, my books. I missed my window. Not this one, the real one, with the lace curtain and the view of the oak tree. And the swing I never took down. Because someday, I thought, Eric's kids might visit. But they never did. In the second week, a nurse wheeled in a notary for the woman in room 9. I overheard her say, "She's signing over everything. Her daughter's handling the sale." Sale. That word stuck like a pit in my throat. Sale of what? A couch? A set of dishes? No. A life. Later that evening, I asked the night nurse, "Do you know if someone can sell a house that isn't theirs?" She smiled, polite and distant. "Well, if they have power of attorney, yes." Power of attorney, of decision, of taking without asking. That night, I pulled my scarf tighter and sat by the window. It was raining again. Soft, steady, and for the first time in weeks. I got mad. Not loud, not stormy, but the kind of quiet mad that settles in your bones. The kind that doesn't shout. It remembers. I remembered Mira's voice in my kitchen. "We'll get that sorted, it's just paperwork." I remembered the box I'd hidden beneath the sewing cabinet, the key, the letter, the fact that not once had I signed a single thing. They took my bed, my stove, my porch, but not my name, not yet. I thought of Eric as a boy, how he'd once brought me dandelions in a cup and said, "They're flowers too, Mama, even if people don't want them." And now he'd left me somewhere people came to forget. I didn't cry again. Not after that. I folded my lavender scarf, tucked it into my drawer like armor, and waited, not for rescue, but for the right moment to begin. The 3rd Tuesday of April, a soft rain tapping against the window, was when I stopped waiting. They had told me I'd be safer here, that the nurses would help, that my bones would be watched more closely than by my own hands. But safety, darling, should never feel like being shelved. Janelle was the only one who looked me in the eye when she helped me dress. She called me Miss Viola, not Room 12. Her touch was warm, but her gaze sharp, like she noticed things others missed. One evening, as she tied my robe, I asked quietly, "Do you ever feel like the world packed you away before you were done speaking?" She paused, then smiled, sad and soft. My own mama said something just like that before she passed. Said they stopped listening the day she stopped cooking. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid there, blanket pulled to my chin, and counted the days since I'd seen my garden. 23. 23 mornings of oatmeal, blinking lights, and the hallway clock ticking just slightly off beat. But also, 23 days since I last signed anything. That mattered. The next morning, I asked Janelle for help sending a letter. Not to my son, not to Mira, but to someone I hadn't called in over a decade. Mr. Halford, our old attorney who once handled my husband's will. "Just checking in," I told her, sealing the envelope. But the truth, dear, was that I'd never really left. My name never left the deed. A week passed. Then came a manila envelope, delivered with a nurse's cart and a confused glance. Inside, a copy of the house deed, still under my name. No transfer, no power of attorney, no sale. They hadn't waited for my consent, because they never thought they needed it. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I sat by the window that night with a cup of chamomile and the rain whispering again. I pulled out my sewing kit, not for the thread, but for the little box beneath it. Inside, a key. The safety box at Wilkins Bank, where I'd stored a few just-in-case papers. The next day, I gave Janelle 2 things. 1, that key. 2, and a folded letter that said only, "Deliver to Mr. Halford, confidential." She didn't ask questions. She just nodded. Kindness doesn't always need explanation. What was in the letter? My decision. Not rage, not revenge, just a rerouting. I asked Mr. Halford to transfer the house, not to Eric, not to Mira, but to a local foundation that supported elderly women rebuilding their lives. Women like me. Women told, gently and cruelly, that they had no place left. The call came 2 days later. It was Eric. His voice clipped. "Mom, what did you do?" I didn't answer. He came to the home himself this time, not with flowers, not with Mira, but with a clipboard and a sour face. "You need to sign this. I've already lined up the buyer. The market's good now. We can't wait." I looked at him. Really looked. The boy who once cried when his hamster died. The man who now calculated the worth of square footage over memories. I handed him a different envelope. He opened it, read it, blanched. His lips trembled, but he masked it with a smirk. "So you're punishing me?" I shook my head. "No, honey. I'm setting myself free." He left without another word, and I breathed deeper than I had in months.
to your afternoon. I wore my lavender garb, the one I hid in beneath my bed.
Where to next, Miss Viola? She asked, smiling. I pointed toward the gate. Home, but a new one this time. Lavender Haven. That's what the place would be called. A small lake house, part of the Foundation's new vision, housing for elder women who'd been discarded by the ones they raised. I used to think I'd die in that old house. Turns out, I just had to leave it to find where I truly belonged. You see, love, justice doesn't always slam doors or raise voices. Sometimes it signs quietly. It plants new gardens in soil once called barren. And when I walked out of that nursing home, the sun warm on my cheeks and Janelle wheeling beside me, I wasn't leaving a place. I was returning to myself. The day I left Crestwood, no one cried, but Janelle smiled. She wheeled me past the desk where they had once asked for my ID. I didn't need it now. I had something better. A name I'd taken back. We drove past my old street. I didn't look. Some things, when severed, don't deserve a glance. I held the envelope in my lap. The letter from Mr. Halford confirming the transfer was done. The house was no longer mine, and that was exactly how I wanted it. It now belonged to Lavender Haven, a foundation for elder women rebuilding their lives. Women with stories. With bruises no one saw. With names no one remembered. They would live there, plant in that garden, hang their photos on those walls. Eric had wanted a quick sale, a profit, an exit. But I turned it into a beginning. Just not his. He emailed once. No greeting, just a subject line. Seriously? After everything? I didn't open it. Some things rot faster in silence. A week later, Mira posted a photo of their new start in Arizona. I saw it only because a friend forwarded it. She was smiling beside a red front door, but her caption read, "Some people never appreciate what you do for them." The comments were full of hearts. None of them knew, and I didn't care. Instead, I watered the rosemary outside my new place. A quiet little cottage with a blue roof and a porch swing, donated by a friend of the foundation. Or maybe by grace itself. Inside, I hung 3 photos. One of Ernest, one of my garden, and one of the first 3 women who moved into Lavender Haven. Their hands shook when they arrived, not from age, but from what they'd carried. We drank tea the first night. No one asked questions, but one woman said softly, "It's the first time I've had my own key in years." I nodded, because I knew exactly what that meant. Justice doesn't always wear a robe or bang a gavel. Sometimes she plants lavender, signs a quiet deed, and lets the next chapter bloom without ever pointing to the pain that wrote it. I never answered Eric. Never returned the vase Mira dropped off later with no note. But I did send one thing, a copy of the article in the local paper. Headline: Former nursing home resident donates home to help abandoned mothers heal. I circled it in blue pen, just once, then sealed the envelope without a word. I hope they read it. I hope they understood. But even if they didn't, it wasn't for them anymore. It was for me. And for every woman who's ever been told she's too much, too old, too late. Mornings here start slow. The kettle hums before the sun clears the trees. The windows fog just slightly from the warmth inside. And I sit on the porch with a cup of mint tea and my lavender scarf wrapped loose around my neck. Not because it's cold, but because it reminds me that I am still here, still choosing. The cottage is small. 1 bedroom, a reading chair, a kitchen with a crooked drawer that makes me smile each time it sticks. There's a garden out back, and I planted rosemary by the steps. It hasn't grown much, but it's trying. So am I. On Thursdays, the women from Lavender Haven come for tea. We don't talk about what brought us here. We talk about soup, birds, whether the clouds look like ships or angels. Sometimes, one of them cries while peeling an apple. No one asks why. We just pass the cinnamon. That's the kind of home we've built. One that holds silence without fear. One where no one knocks. They just open the gate and come in slow. Janelle visits on Sundays. She brings her daughter now. A little girl with wild curls and questions for everything. Last week, she asked me why I wear the same scarf so much. I told her, it's stitched with quiet things. You'll understand when you're older. She didn't get it, but she smiled anyway and hugged me tighter than I expected. I still get letters from Mr. Halford, updates on the foundation, notes about new residents. Last month, they welcomed a woman named Elsie, 72, estranged from her only son. They gave her my old bedroom. She cried when she saw the lace curtains. She said, I thought nobody left room for women like me anymore. And I thought, that's the line I'd been waiting to hear. Some nights, I write letters I never send. To Eric, to Mira, to the woman I used to be. But mostly, I write to the girl I once was. The one who thought love meant staying silent. The one who believed sacrifice was the only proof of worth. I write her new endings on pages that smell like rosemary and old paper. And then, I fold them away. Not to forget, just to rest. This is what healing looks like. Not loud, not instant, but real. It grows in small pots, in second chances, in tea shared between women who thought they were invisible. And one day, if anyone asks who I am, I'll say, I'm Viola. I was sent away, and I came home to myself. They thought the story would end when they closed the door behind me. But I opened another. And maybe, darling, that's what we do when no one comes to save us. We build softer homes for ourselves and for each other. If you've ever been packed away for your own good, if someone took your choices and called it care, I want to hear from you. You don't have to share it loud. Just send a whisper, a memory, a truth too long held. My inbox is waiting, love. Or leave it here, where other quiet hearts will see you too. Because some women were never lost. We were just paused. And today might be the moment you press play again.